While my girlfriend was in Hawaii with her friends, she texted me and said we should see other people. I answered, "Good to know." We canceled our lease and moved out. When she got home, her things were neatly packed at the door. That's when everything started to go wrong for her. Hello, Reddit. During her trip to Hawaii with her friends, my ex felt she wanted some time alone. $5,000 were gone from my account a week later, and my things were halfway to storage. If she wanted space, I thought I'd offer her a lot. But believe me, that was only the beginning. Let me go back a little. Noah Hale is my name. I'm 31 years old and work in software, mostly from home. My job keeps me looking at screens more than people. Renee Calder and I live together. She is 29 years old, works in marketing, and talks a lot about brand identity. Somehow, our one-bedroom apartment seems more like her Pinterest board than a place where two people live. My mornings are calm. At 7 o'clock, I go to the gym. At 8 o'clock, I have coffee. By 9 o'clock, my laptop is open. Renee's mornings began with her hitting snooze 4 times and swearing at her work emails. There are so many makeup and skin care samples on her vanity table that it seems like a tiny explosion. I have a laptop charger and a single mug. She was getting ready for a trip to Hawaii with only girls that week. For 3 weeks, she and her pals Ava and Tara went in and out of the apartment to arrange it. They acted like they owned the place every time they came around, chatting about swimwear, herbs, and the bars they had to go to. Ava looked like she belonged on a yacht. She had hair extensions and constantly wore workout gear, but she never got sweaty. Tara was silent and kind, but she did what Ava told her to do. The jokes started every time I walked through the living room to get something from the fridge. Ava said once, "Poor Noah, are you going to be able to make it through a week without an adult watching you?" Renee laughed and flipped her hair. "He'll probably move things about in the pantry or something." I smiled because it's easier than fighting. At least when I put things back in order, they stay clean. They laughed even harder. It didn't hurt. It just made me think about how far away we've become. She was walking about and throwing clothes into a suitcase the night before her travel. "Can I use your card in case of an emergency?" she asked, but she didn't look up. "What kinds of emergencies?" I said, in case my debit card gets locked or something. I didn't like that, but I gave her my card. "Don't go crazy with it." She rolled her eyes. "Take it easy. I'm not stupid." The flat felt empty as soon as she closed the door behind her that morning. I took her to the airport and kissed her farewell. She kissed me back as if she were already in line to board. She was already on her phone with her thumbs moving quickly before I even left the terminal. She started posting pictures 2 days later. Pineapples, beverages, beaches, and sunsets. Those captions that are too filtered for living my greatest life. I scrolled for a minute and then put the phone down. Not one of them mentioned me. That night, she called while I was cooking. "Hey, could you please provide me the password for Netflix? We are watching something before we go." I sent it. She hung up without saying thank you. The next day, she wrote again. Her on a boat with her hair flying and a guy's arm barely in the picture. "Freedom looks good on everyone," the caption wrote. The comments were full of fire emojis and yes, queen gibberish. I didn't say anything. I was at work later that night verifying a code push when I got her message. It didn't take long. Since I came here, I've been doing a lot of thinking. I think we've been different for a time now, and maybe it's time for both of us to look for other things. We can chat when I get back. I read it 2 times. It wasn't even mean, it was just cold, like a memo. I didn't answer the text. I didn't toss anything, not pacing about. I just sat there for a while, looking at the little gray bubble that never changed into additional text. I opened the window. The air at night felt thick and humid. I took a screenshot of the message and put my phone face down on the counter. Then I got a pad of paper and penned 3 lines. End the lease renewal. Get things out. Don't wait for her to make a choice. I took a peek around the living room. Plants, phrases in frames, and candles that look like fruit. I had half of my things in storage containers under the bed. It's funny how you don't realize how little room you have until someone tells you it's not truly yours. Renee needed some time to herself. She just forgot that I could take that literally. I turned off the lights, cleared the dishes, and shut my laptop. I already knew what I had to do the next day. I checked my phone one last time before bed. The message was still vivid on the screen, as if it were waiting for me to respond, which I wasn't going to do. I locked the screen and stated it out loud, largely to myself in the empty room. I guess I'm the emergency now. I got up early the next morning, prepared coffee, and accessed my banking app without thinking. The number on the screen didn't seem right. My checking account had $5,000 less than it did yesterday. I looked through the most recent transactions. $5,287.43. 3 charges. All in Wick on the same day. A private dining experience by the sea, a diamond store, and a premium spa. I sat there and looked at the phone. She had my card in her pocketbook. I hadn't touched it since the night before she left. I called the number on the back. The woman on the phone sounded like she was half asleep, but she was pleasant. Thanks for calling. What can I do to help? Yes, I said. Someone just used $5,000 of my money in Hawaii. That wasn't me. She checked it out, validated the transactions, and told me they had already been done. Mr. Hale, we can file a fraud report. You will get an email with the case number. I told you to do it. After we hung up, I got the email saying it was true. I opened my laptop, made a folder on the desktop, labeled it proof, and put in the case file and screenshots of every charge. The folder seemed little, but it was heavy. This was the button that let me start afresh. I thought about all the little money things that happened before this while the coffee cooled. When we went out, Renee invariably forgot her card. The statements about the rent delays and you make more anyway, that used to seem like jokes. They weren't funny. I already knew what I had to do next by nice man. They don't answer right away, but they are fair. Hey Paul. Noah from 3B here. Good morning, Noah. What's going on? I won't be renewing the lease. He stopped and said, I'll be moved out before the end of the month. Is everything okay? You two looked like you were settled. I said that plans had altered. Please email me a confirmation of the cancellation. Of course. I'll send it by email. I prepared a list in the Notes app after I hung up. It said to move my stuff, box hers, take pictures for proof, and return the keys. That list was my plan for the week. I began in the bedroom. There was so much stuff on her side of the closet that it appeared like a garment store had blown up. I took my time and was meticulous as I folded each piece and put them in cartons. A large black marker wrote a label on each one. Renee's closet. Renee's vanity. Renee's shoes. Bathroom for Renee. The worst part was packing her vanity. There were dozens of lipsticks, bottles, brushes, and other things I didn't know existed. The smell of her perfume was everywhere. I started finding little notes and receipts hidden in drawers. There was a white envelope tucked under a pile of journals at the bottom. In her penmanship, it stated Dad. I didn't open it. I held it for a few seconds before putting it down. Before I sealed the boxes, I took pictures of every room. The kitchen, the living room, and the bedroom. Each picture had a date and timestamp, which showed that nothing was broken or missing. I even wiped off the counters and vacuumed beneath the bed. Someone knocked at about 3 p.m. When I opened the door, I saw Mrs. Tran from next door holding her cat carrier. She's polite, but she always wants to know what's going on. Oh no, are you two moving? She asked, attempting to see past me. Just me, I responded. Did something happen? Yeah, I responded. She traveled to Hawaii. Mrs. Tran scowled like that didn't explain anything, which it didn't. You two were such a cute couple. Too bad. I guess looks aren't everything. I murmured and went back to taping boxes. She said something about wishing me luck and then left. The note to her dad was still on the counter when I finally took a break. I found an envelope and wrote Elaine Calder on it. I still had her address from their Christmas card last year. I put the letter inside with a sticky note that stated, "Figured this should be with family." Then I put it in the outgoing mail downstairs. I looked at my laptop again when I got back to the flat. The bank had sent a new email. It said, "We found one disputed charge that was made through Calder Marketing Group's corporate travel portal while using your card. Please confirm that you did not authorize this." I read that again. The card for her business. She probably utilized her corporate travel system to reserve the resort, maybe to get points. That meant that the accounting department at her employer would see it. I answered in the same calm voice I had used all day. Not allowed. Confirming that the fraud report is still open. Put every receipt and screenshot in the email and push send. I didn't want revenge. The systems she used were already doing it for me. It was silent in the room when I finished taping the last package. The music, the calls, and the perfume that were always there. Everything was gone. Now it's just air and space. I put her boxes of things on one side of the living room and lined them up properly. My half of the apartment was already unoccupied. I had filled 8 cartons by the time nighttime came. 4 for her, 4 for me. The shelves appeared bare. The couch seemed bigger than usual. I opened the window. The noise from the city came in like static. I snapped a picture while sitting on the floor with my back against the wall. Living room with half of it empty. The light coming in through the window made a line in the middle that seemed like it was between before and after. I put it on my social media page with one line. Some doors shut themselves. No tags, no drama, just that. A few minutes later, the phone buzzed, and friends liked it. There were several question marks in my DMs, but I didn't answer anyone. I put my head back against the wall and watched the sun go down behind the skyscrapers. Now, instead of her perfume, the space smelled like cleaning spray. It felt like I could breathe for the first time in a long time. For days after I boxed up the last of her stuff, the home remained quiet. I was cleaning the counters when my phone rang with a voicemail from a number I didn't know. It was a person from Renee's company, Calder Marketing Group. The woman spoke in a nice but strong way. "Mr. Hale, we're looking over a business expense that was charged to your card. We would like to confirm the details." She told me that I could use my card and name and phone number to arrange a stay at the resort through their corporate travel portal. I opened my laptop, attached the receipts and screenshots as proof, and submitted them with a one-line email. All transactions were not allowed. There is a current fraud case. 10 minutes later, they answered, thanking me and talking about their own compliance process. In other words, Renee had just walked into an HR meeting that she didn't know was going to happen. The apartment was clean by the afternoon. There were only her boxes remaining, lined in rows against the wall in the living room. I had already relocated my belongings to the short-term place across town, but I retained a small box of tools to clean for the walkthrough. The next day, I was going to give the keys to the landlord. Someone knocked loudly. I thought it was Paul who was doing the inspection. No, it wasn't. Renee stood there with her bag handle in one hand and her sunglasses on. She was tan from the trip. She had flown home 2 days early. Before she even walked in, she appeared astonished to see the boxes. She said, "What the hell is this?" I used a towel to wipe my hands. "Your stuff. You said we needed space, so I made some. You're throwing me out like trash." "You ended it," I said. "I'm just following orders," she said as she pushed by me and looked around. "My desk is gone, my closet is vacant, and the shelves are empty. You really did move out. You didn't even wait for me to get back. You told me not to. That text wasn't the last one." She went crazy. "You are totally over the top. I meant that we should chat when I got home." I said, "See other people." "And you wrote. It's hard to get that wrong." Her voice got louder. "Everyone saw your post and is asking questions." Then the transition happened. Her voice got softer. "I didn't mean for things to get this bad. The trip was dumb. We all fought. I shouldn't have texted what I did." I leaned against the counter and waited. She kept talking about the card. "It was a mistake. I was going to give you the money back. In that case, your HR shouldn't have emailed me this morning." I told her that froze her. What did they do? They wanted me to authenticate the charges. I did. Her face lost all its color. Then she slammed the box shut and glared. "Noah, you're going to regret this. You believe you're the victim, but everyone will know what kind of person you are." I answered, "I already do." Her heels echoed along the hall as she rushed out. I let out a breath once the door snapped shut. The room was even quieter than before. My laptop made a sound a few minutes later. The bank sent me another email. "We've added more receipts to Calder Marketing Group. The investigation is getting bigger. I didn't smile, but I could feel closure becoming closer. I put the last of her boxes by the front door, made a list of what was in them, and taped it to the top box. I wanted it to be evident that everything was accounted for. Victor was coming back from walking his dog as I walked into the hallway. He looked at the shifting straps in my hand. Did she show up? Yes, I responded. Quick visit. He laughed dryly. People like that only learn when the world stops giving. I secured the wheels on the dolly and nodded. Then it's time for class. We carried the final 2 boxes I had kept back down to his truck together. They were tools and cleaning materials. Probably took 15 minutes. He didn't ask me anything, and I didn't offer anything. Paul, the landlord, came by for the last walkthrough by early evening. It appeared like the flat was cleaner than when we first moved in. He strolled from room to room with his clipboard and nodded. He added, "I've never seen a tenant leave it this clean." I gave him the keys. "Thanks," he said, signing the inspection page and ripping off my copy. "She's still picking up her things." "Eventually," I answered. "It's labeled. Keep a spare so she can schedule pickup." He shrugged, put the keys in his pocket, and departed. The light was lowering behind the blinds, making long lines on the vacant floor. I stood there for a second with my phone in my hand. Then I took a picture of the spotless flat and shared it to my page with a simple caption. "That's one lesson that has been paid for." Then I locked the screen and left for the last time. The picture of the vacant flat had hardly been up for an hour when everything got loud again. The way my phone lit up was different from when she first left. Messages, alerts, and calls came in like someone had kicked a beehive. Ava was the first. "Noah, you're really unstable. Renee told us what you did. Getting rid of her things. Who does that? You need help." Then Tara showed up. Less harsh, but still defensive. "I don't know what's going on, but maybe you should just talk to her. You two are both being nuts right now. Please don't post anything else. She is quite upset. People like that don't want the truth. They merely want proof that their version is correct." By midday the next day, everyone knew about Renee's breakdown. Her stories were long paragraphs with screenshots and ambiguous posts about betrayal and emotional assault. In one tape, she cried and said she arrived home to discover her life on the sidewalk. There were a lot of comments with fire and sympathy emojis. "Stay strong," Ava said, and Tara added a heart. I watched one entire loop, turned off the sound, and went on. The ripple didn't take long to reach my inbox. Friends who knew both of us texted me, "Man, what happened? Are you okay?" She's saying some crazy things. I ignored them all. I had spent 3 years explaining things to her, so I wasn't going to start explaining her to anyone else. That night, a little after midnight, my phone rang again. The caller ID switched between unknown and her name. I let it buzz 4 times before picking up. Her voice hit me right away, shaky and high, like she had been crying and screaming at the same time. "You're ruining me, Noah. Do you even know what you've done?" "I guess I do," I replied. "You made me appear crazy. You're posting cryptic garbage so people think I cheated or something." "I didn't post you," I said. "You posted yourself." There was stillness for a time, then crying. "You don't understand. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just—" She stopped in the middle of a sentence, and her tone altered. The tears fell quickly. "You know what? It wasn't even a big deal. You were just easy to get to. I was getting to know myself. I kept my voice steady. It didn't ruin it. Just stopped funding it." She started yelling again, but I'd already hung up. The call came through twice more, then stopped. The next morning, an email from the bank investigator landed in my inbox with the subject line, "Evidence attached." I opened it. The attachment was a merchant confirmation with the signed receipt and timestamp. Same boutique in Wook. Her signature matched, and the clerk's notes listed my card. Standing at the counter, sunglasses on her head, laughing with the clerk as she signed a slip. My card sat right there on the counter beside her phone. No explanation needed. I saved the file and dropped it into the folder with the rest. I didn't send it anywhere. I didn't need anyone else to see. The facts had a way of handling themselves if you just let them breathe. Later, when I stepped out to grab groceries, I ran into Victor in the hallway. He was walking Hank, his big gray dog that looks like it could pull a truck. He looked at me, saw the set of my face, and nodded. "She's still losing it pretty loudly," I said. He leaned on the doorframe. "People like that think volume wins arguments." "Yeah," I said. "I'm just glad she's yelling somewhere else." Victor chuckled once. That low kind of laugh older guys have when they've seen enough to stop being surprised. "You did the right thing. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise." "I won't," I said. "Appreciate it." He clapped my shoulder, muttered something about Hank needing dinner, and walked off. The hallway went quiet again. That night was calm for the first time in days. I cooked something simple, ate while answering a few work messages, then scrolled through headlines until the noise of the week faded. Around 10, I plugged in my phone and saw 40 missed calls and 24 new texts. Some from numbers I didn't know, some blocked. Most were screenshots or half sentences that didn't make sense. The last message, though, stood out, just one line. "You should know Lucas isn't who you think." No name, no context. I stared at it a second, then typed. Either way, I wasn't chasing it. I closed the messages, muted the number. The apartment was silent. Tires hissed on wet pavement outside. I looked at the stack of boxes I'd yet to move from storage. The photo on my feed still sitting there with quiet likes trickling in. Renee was spiraling in front of an audience trying to rewrite a story everyone would eventually forget. I didn't need to win. I just needed to be done. It was 3 days after that strange text about Lucas when I got a message from Tara. "Hey, can we meet for coffee? Just want to clear a few things up." Not taking sides. Her name popping up surprised me. Out of all Renee's friends, Tara had always been the least loud. The one who sometimes looked uncomfortable when the other two started teasing me. I told her I could meet near my office during lunch. When I got to the cafe, she was already sitting there. Hoodie, sunglasses, coffee half gone. She looked rough, like she hadn't slept much. "I'm not here to argue," she said right away. "I just don't want you thinking I'm like them." "Didn't think you were," I said. "But I'm curious why you messaged me." She sighed and leaned forward. "You got that text about Lucas, right?" "Yeah." "Still don't know who that is." Her eyes flicked down to her cup. "He's the guy we met in Hawaii." "Well, the guy Renee met, kind of. It's messy." I just nodded, letting her talk. Tara took a breath. "So, Lucas Wren, he's some travel influencer. Has followers, sponsors, free stays at resorts, that kind of guy. We met him the second night there. He bought us drinks, said he could get us into a private event. Renee was all over him instantly. She stopped, rubbed her forehead. The rest of the week got messy. Renee hooked up with him first. Ava did 2 nights later. I ended up with him after that. None of us knew until we got home and saw his stories. He posted clips of each of us. Different days, same room. She laughed once, a humorless sound. We realized what happened when one of my friends tagged me in a post. That's when everything blew up between us. Renee called us traitors. Ava called her a liar. Lucas blocked all 3 of us before the flight back. I didn't say anything for a few seconds. She looked like she was waiting for me to explode or laugh or something. Finally, I said, "So, she lost him. She lost her flat after losing her pal. Is that about right?" Tara nodded. I said, "At least she got the group rate." She really did laugh. It was short but true. After that, she shook her head. "Noah, she's going down. She's attempting to make it seem like she broke up with him on her own terms. But she's been sending him DMs nonstop. I think she's afraid of what's going to happen." "What's on the way?" I asked. Tara got closer. "Her work knows about the card. I still work with someone who does accounting. They said they were looking into her expenses. Your bank gave HR copies of the receipts. She's on leave for a short time, which is like being suspended." I crossed my arms and leaned back. "It makes sense." She bit her lip. "I didn't want to reach out, but you didn't deserve how she dealt with all of this. She keeps saying that you were in charge and that you locked her out of the flat. She's changing everything." I thought so. I told them that's what people do when the facts don't fit their tale. Tara nodded. "I'm just done with it. I'm not friends with her anymore. Ava is acting like she's all right, but she's really angry. They are putting up phony statements about devotion and betrayal to make people feel better. You probably know what they are. I told them all to be quiet. That's a good idea. She rose up after finishing her coffee. I just wanted you to know the truth, though. There was nothing you imagined. She truly was with that person, and she's still trying to get out of it. I said, "Thanks for being honest with me." She nodded once and then left without looking back. When I went home later, I opened my laptop and looked at social media to see if what Tara claimed was true. It did. The fissures were starting to show. Renee had changed her profile photo to a phrase about how pain can help you grow. Ava's most recent post said, "Don't betray people who would have done anything for you." The comments were half gossip and half pity. Tara had stopped talking totally. I saw the clip after that. Some gossip account had put it up. The camera at the store recorded grainy footage that seems like it was taken from a clerk's private tale. Renee laughing as she signs a receipt. The exact picture that the bank investigator had emailed me. The person who leaked it didn't tag me, but the comments were harsh. "I guess that means you're not an independent lady, lol. Think about going on vacation with someone else and using your man's card. That's crazy." Her sympathy was quickly falling apart. An hour later, she switched off comments. A few hours later, someone shared a screenshot of an internal memo from her firm. It indicated that she was on administrative leave while an investigation was going on. It spread quickly. People in her group either stopped talking or started posting remarks like, "Don't believe everything you see online." Ava modified her bio to say, "Don't trust anyone." A lot of people who used to follow Renee stopped following her. People who had been sending her hearts were suddenly saying she was fake. I didn't put anything up. I merely scrolled, dismissed the applications, and put on my exercise clothes. The week after that was quiet. I slept, worked, and trained. That was it. When you stop responding, life seems so much easier. I didn't have to prove anything. The truth had already done it for me. A week after the video leak, I got a call from a number I didn't know. I let it go to voicemail and then listened. "Hi, Noah." Elaine called her. Renee's mom. "I wanted to say thank you for being respectful about everything." Her voice was calm, mature, and steady. I called again. I said, "Hello, Mrs. Calder." She sounded almost happy. "I got the letter you sent me." It was the letter that Renee sent to her father. "I appreciate you sending it instead of throwing it away. I figured it wasn't mine to keep." There was a pause, then she said quietly, "She's done this before, you know? Makes a mess. Blames whoever's closest. I used to think it was immaturity, but it's a pattern now. You handled it better than most." "I just handled what was mine." I said, "She won't see it that way." Elaine said, "But I wanted to tell you thank you for not being cruel. That was never the goal." When we hung up, I dropped the call log into proof like everything else. Not to be mean, but to be fair. The bank sent an email the next morning. "The case is closed. Full refund approved." There was a PDF confirmation and a note from the investigator thanking me for clear documentation. I moved the file into the folder after saving it. A small win that was done right. An email came in later that day. This time it was from Renee. Subject: money settlement. Needed you to pay me for my things and the stress you caused me by invading my private. I want $3,000 by Friday, or I'll have to take this further. Just that, with no welcome or signature. I didn't say anything back. I sent it right to my lawyer, who had already helped me with the fraud papers. He replied half an hour later. "Done. Stop and don't do it. I'm going out today." That was all. By the middle of the week, I had started to move the remainder of the furniture. We had a few things together. Table, sofa, and a tiny shelf. I sold them online, took the money, and split it up in my head. Part for saving, part for good. That afternoon, I donated a few hundred to a local program that helped people get out of bad financial situations. It seemed like the perfect way to finish things. I traveled back to the old building on Friday to give the landlord the last keycard. There were some tools, cleaning materials, and boxes in the back seat. There were also other things I didn't need but hadn't decided whether to throw away yet. Paul met me at the front gate. "You really left this home pristine," he said. "Wish everyone moved out like that." "Old habits," I said. He handed me a small envelope with my deposit check inside. There was a handwritten note clipped to it. "Immaculate. Thank you." I was about to leave when I saw her. Renee was standing outside the gate with her phone in her hand and red eyes like she hadn't slept. She saw me right away and ran toward the car. I stayed where I was. She started yelling before she reached me. "You think this makes you the good guy? You lied about everything. You turned my friends against me." I rolled down the window halfway. "You should go home, Renee," she said, her voice breaking. "You ruined my life. You want everyone to see me as some monster? Well, congratulations. You did it." Paul came outside when he heard the shouting. So did the security guard from the front desk. "Ma'am," the guard said, "you need to step back from the vehicle." She ignored him. "You think you can just move on like nothing happened? Do you really think this is over?" "Yeah," I said. "It is." Security stepped between us. Paul looked embarrassed. Renee shouted a few more things I couldn't even make out before the guard guided her toward the sidewalk. I rolled the window up and waited until they were gone. No yelling, no scene, just air conditioning, humming, and the faint sound of city traffic. After a minute, I pulled out of the lot. When I got to my new apartment, it was quiet. Smaller space, one bedroom, white walls, barely any furniture. Exactly what I wanted. I unpacked the essentials. Laptop, a few shirts, a chair, and my coffee maker. That was all I needed. I set the deposit check on the counter next to the keys. For the first time in months, there wasn't a single notification or message waiting for me. No clutter, no noise, just space that finally felt like mine. 2 months later, everything looked different. Work was steady again. I was back to hitting the gym every morning before logging in. Weekends were quiet. Some running, some laundry, no drama, no noise. The new apartment felt lived in now. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. A couch that didn't creak, a small table that doubled as a desk, a balcony that caught just enough evening sun. The biggest difference, though, was Apollo. He's a golden retriever I adopted from a rescue shelter. The lady there said he'd been abandoned, left behind when his owner moved. I looked at him through the glass and thought, yeah, same story. He wakes me up every morning now. Tail on the wall, head on the bed, waiting for breakfast. He follows me everywhere like he's making sure I don't disappear on him, too. Victor came over one Friday evening carrying 2 bags of takeout and a couple of sodas. "You look like a man who eats cold food too often," he said, walking straight to the balcony. Apollo loved him instantly, probably the tone of voice, firm but calm. We sat out there while the city lights came on, eating noodles from cartons. No heavy talk, just small stuff. Work, neighbors, Victor's plans to visit his sister. Then he nodded toward Apollo, who was asleep on my feet. "Good choice," he said. "Dogs don't lie. People could learn from that." "Yeah," I said. "He doesn't ask questions, doesn't talk back, doesn't text from Hawaii." Victor laughed quiet and short. "You're doing fine, kid. Don't waste energy looking behind you." "I'm not," I said. "I deleted half my past already." He gave a slow nod like that was enough. The next week after work, I stopped by a cafe near the park. I brought my laptop to finish a few things, ordered coffee, and sat by the window. Apollo was tied outside with his water bowl, watching every person who passed like it was his job. About 20 minutes in, I looked up and froze. Renee had just walked in. She didn't see me at first. Her hair was darker, shorter, no makeup, no shine. She looked tired in that way people do when their lives haven't been going how they tell others online. Then she noticed me. Her eyes widened for a second before she masked it with a half smile. She walked over, holding her phone like a prop. "Didn't expect to see you here," she said. Her voice was flat. I nodded once. "It's a small city." She crossed her arms. "So you're just happy now?" That easy? I kept my tone even. I'm fine. She tilted her head. You think you're better than me now? Huh? I met her eyes. No, I said just better without you. That shut her up. She stood there like she wanted to say something else, but couldn't find the words. I took my coffee, gave Apollo's leash a gentle tug through the window, and left. Outside, the air felt clean. Apollo wagged his tail and pressed against my leg like he already knew it was done. When I got home that evening, the apartment was quiet except for the sound of his paws on the tile. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and clicked into proof for the first time in weeks. There it was. Every screenshot, every receipt, every photo, the whole mess neatly contained. I scrolled through a few files. Her message, the bank report, the image from the boutique. None of it made me angry anymore. It just looked like evidence from a different life. I highlighted everything, hit delete, and emptied the recycle bin without a second thought. No noise, no chaos, just structure and peace. Apollo's a little bigger, a little lazier. He still sleeps next to my desk when I work and jumps up when he hears the word park. The rescue lady told me he might take a while to trust people again, but he adjusted fast. I guess we both did. Work solid. I got promoted last fall, not because I hustled harder, but because I finally stopped carrying extra weight. When you're not waking up to fights or worrying about who's using your card, your mind works better. I didn't realize how much space peace gives you until I had it. I moved again. Nothing major, just to a slightly bigger place with better sunlight. It feels like a clean continuation of everything I started. That month, I packed up and walked away. I've kept it minimal. Couch, bed, desk, coffee machine, and a handful of framed photos. One of Apollo as a puppy, one of a trail up north where we hike every few months, and one with Victor and Hank on the balcony. Renee's name hasn't come up in a long time. The last thing I heard, she left the company not long after the audit ended. Word was she tried freelancing for a while, then went quiet online. I don't wish her anything bad. Honestly, I hope she figured herself out. We were just two people with mismatched definitions of respect. That's not a crime. It's just a lesson you pay for. Every now and then, someone will ask if I'm seeing anyone. I tell them I'm not in a rush. I like my space, my dog, my quiet mornings. The old version of me used to mistake noise for energy and attention for love. Now I just call it what it is, distraction. If I've learned anything, it's that peace doesn't show up like a gift. You build it, you guard it, and you don't hand it to someone who hasn't earned their own. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button.